Coronation Street's George Shuttleworth will have a huge decision to make next week, amid his relationship troubles with Christina Boyd. The couple recently hit a rough patch when George discovered Christina had been splurging money again. Furious at her reckless spending, George decided to go on their holiday alone, leaving Christina to ruminate on their fallout back home. And in upcoming episodes, the funeral director returns from Somerset to even more drama. At the start of next week, Christina attempts to drown her relationship sorrows at the pub. She has a little too much to drink and topples over in the ginnel, where she's filmed by Jake Windass. Later, Christina anxiously tidies the house ahead of George's return, unaware that he's already back in Weatherfield. When Todd Grimshaw arrives at work, he's surprised to find his boss waiting for him. Todd is irritated as George chastises him for trying to drink his problems away, and he decides to reveal Christina's drunken antics in the ginnel. Shocked, George heads home and tells Christina that he's had time to think. Will he give their relationship another go, or is he calling it quits? After their argument, our Corey source teases George might be tired of Christina's lies. George feels badly let down when he finds out that Christina is still spending recklessly, our source said. He'd previously given her one last chance to turn her life around, without any more secrets and lies. Christina hates herself for succumbing to temptation, but she's struggling with a genuine addiction. Will George patch things up with her when he returns? George Shuttleworth could soon find himself facing one of the most difficult decisions of his life as tensions surrounding Christina continue to rise on Coronation Street. The funeral director has already been caught in an increasingly complicated situation, but the latest fallout threatens to push him to a breaking point. With emotions running high and relationships becoming harder to navigate, George may realize that staying neutral is no longer an option. For George, keeping the peace has often been easier than confronting uncomfortable truths. He has a caring nature and tends to put the feelings of those around him before his own. However, Christina's recent actions could force him to reconsider that approach. The trouble began when Christina's behavior started creating tension within George's personal life. What might initially have seemed like a difficult family disagreement has gradually developed into something much more serious. As accusations, secrets and emotional confrontations pile up, George is left questioning who he can actually trust. Christina is unlikely to back down easily. She has her own reasons for behaving the way she does, and her determination could make matters even worse. While some residents may sympathize with her, others could begin to wonder whether she has crossed a line. George finds himself caught directly in the middle. One moment, he could be trying to understand Christina's point of view. The next, he could be dealing with the consequences of her decisions. It is a position that could leave him emotionally exhausted. But rather than allowing the situation to continue indefinitely, George may finally decide that enough is enough. The biggest question is what that decision will involve. Could George choose to distance himself from Christina completely? Or will he make a surprising move that changes the situation for everyone involved? Whatever happens, it appears George will be forced to take a side. For a character who has traditionally tried to avoid unnecessary conflict, that would represent a major change. George has built his life around helping others through difficult moments, particularly through his work as a funeral director. Yet this time, there may be no way for him to stand outside the drama. Those close to George could also notice the strain. His usual calm and reassuring personality may begin to disappear as the pressure mounts. Conversations that once would have ended peacefully could suddenly turn into heated arguments. George may find himself saying things he never expected to say. And Christina could be the person who pushes him furthest. There is also the possibility that George's decision could reveal something that has been hidden beneath the surface for much longer than anyone realized. Sometimes a major argument is not really about the event that caused it. Instead, it exposes years of frustration, disappointment and unresolved feelings. That could be exactly what happens here. George may finally tell Christina what he really thinks. If he does, the consequences could be enormous. Christina may feel betrayed, particularly if she believed George would always support her. Rather than accepting his decision, she could respond by challenging him even further. This could create another explosive confrontation, potentially leaving their relationship more damaged than ever. Meanwhile, other Weatherfield residents could become involved. As news of the dispute spreads, people may begin choosing sides. Some could encourage George to follow his heart, while others might warn him against making a decision while emotions are still running high. George could therefore find himself with an impossible choice. Does he protect the people he loves, even if it means upsetting Christina? Or does he attempt one final reconciliation and risk making the situation even more complicated? The answer could arrive during a highly emotional conversation. George may finally admit that he cannot continue living with the uncertainty. He could explain that recent events have changed how he sees the situation and that he needs to put his own happiness first. That would be a significant moment for the character. George is usually the person others turn to when they need advice. But now, he may need to take his own advice and stop allowing other people's problems to control his life. There could even be a shocking twist. Just when George believes he understands what Christina wants, another revelation could emerge. A previously hidden detail might completely change his perspective, leaving him wondering whether he has been supporting the wrong person all along. Such a development would make his eventual decision even more difficult. Christina, meanwhile, could find herself under increasing scrutiny. If her actions continue to cause conflict, George may decide that drawing a firm boundary is the only way forward. That boundary could have lasting consequences. For viewers, the storyline offers the chance to see another side of George. Beneath his friendly exterior is someone capable of making difficult choices when pushed too far. His loyalty is one of his defining qualities, but loyalty can become complicated when the person receiving it continues to cause pain. George's dilemma is therefore not simply about Christina. It is about how much he is prepared to sacrifice for the sake of keeping everyone else happy. Eventually, he may realize that there comes a point when peace is impossible without honesty. And honesty could be exactly what causes the next major explosion. If George decides to confront Christina, viewers could be treated to one of the most emotional scenes of the storyline. The conversation might begin calmly before quickly becoming heated, with both characters finally revealing their true feelings. George could accuse Christina of making everything about herself. Christina could fire back with her own accusations. Neither may be willing to apologize. And once those words are spoken, their relationship may never be the same again. The fallout could also affect George's future on the street. A major decision could lead him toward a new chapter, perhaps forcing him to reconsider where he lives, who he trusts and what kind of life he really wants. For now, though, George appears trapped between responsibility and self-preservation. He wants to do the right thing. But what if there is no obvious right choice? That is what makes the storyline so compelling. As the Christina fallout continues, viewers will be left wondering whether George can finally break free from the situation or whether another secret will pull him back into the drama. One thing seems increasingly clear: George cannot keep avoiding the inevitable. Soon, he will have to choose. And whatever decision he makes could have consequences far beyond his relationship with Christina. On the cobbles, one difficult decision is often enough to change everything. For George, that moment may be closer than anyone realizes. Coronation Street airs on weeknights at 8:30 p.m. on ITV1 and streams on ITVX. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Crown ST.